Okay. All right, so welcome everyone. I love being on time. I don't love being not on time, and we're on time, so that's awesome. I also love that some of you were here and I didn't even see you come in the door. It's so much fun for me. You were sneaky. So tonight's conversation is one we only do one time a year. Now it does have some pieces in it that may look a bit familiar from other workshops because one of the keys to success is repetition. So if something is advertised to you, how many times do you think you have to see it before your brain even recognizes that you're being advertised to? 7 for you to even notice it, which means if there's a new billboard, you drive past it 7 times before your brain even knows it's there. Now, once you see that advertisement or that new information, because it's the same thing, but they did it in how many times we need to advertise to somebody to get them to notice, we see that new information. How many times do you have to see it to begin to maybe believe or be interested? Like 40 to 49. So if we have workshops that are a little bit repetitive, is that okay? Yes. So if the average person needs to be advertised to for maybe something they're even already interested in 49 times before their brain and the neurology starts to go, oh, I saw that thing. I want to know more about that thing. And now I'm actually going to put effort into that thing. It's okay. So there are some pieces of this evening that are a little repetitive on purpose. And the thing to remember, the theme of the evening is something I've really been digging into in a lot of our, what we call our table talk conversations, with the things that happen after the adjustment. It's a statement that lives on the wall above Kristen's head. So who knows what that statement says? It's the biggest thing in the office. It's like bigger than me if I lay down. So this is fun. This is why I did this. How many times have you been in the office? Some of you 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Some of you way more than that. And you haven't noticed the thing that's like 8 feet by 4 feet on the wall. It says the power that made your body is the power that heals your body. So if you're, and it's underlined, yeah. And it's bold. So if you remember nothing else from any other conversation we have, it's the remembrance of the power that made your body is the power that heals it, which then, of course, means we should ask some questions like, well, what made your body? Now, there could be some differing answers to that. Now, there's something else in the room on the direct opposite side of that that gives a clue into what at least my personal worldview and the worldview of the opposites of the power that made your body. So who's noticed that one? What is it?
Crucifix or cross.
Yeah, it's crucifix. So one side says the power that made your body heals it. The other side is a crucifix or cross right above the exam room door, because what do we do in the exam room door on day one? It's not, I promise it's not that hard. But the visualization that I and the team have before we walk in is that this is a hello that could last a lifetime. How long should you care for your spine? A lifetime. Now, the fact is lifetime care is not an option. The only option is the quality of care you choose. So what if at hello, we had the vision that the things I'm going to learn to do differently that are going to do nothing but enhance my life, I did forever. How many things do you do that are good for you that you're going to do forever? That might be a shorter list than you'd like it to be, but let's just shout it out. What are some of the things you do, let's say, every day, maybe twice a day for around 2 minutes? We all brush our teeth. That's good. What's something else you do?
Sleep.
Shower. That's also very good. Both of those are good for friends. Maybe there's some sleep involved. Maybe you put some kind of nutrients in your body. Maybe that nutrients is good or bad for you. Sometimes, hopefully, it's more good stuff and less bad stuff, but there's balance in life. There's moderation, but there's things we're going to do that are us taking care of our bodies for our entire life. So the idea behind the Love Your Spine is, yes, we're going to look at and break down the different areas of your spine. I'm going to give you some really simple, specific things you can start working on at home starting today that are going to enhance the quality of the care here and your spine. And remember, the power that made your body heals your body. And if the visualization of the giant sign and the one right on the opposite side of it didn't really work for you, I'll be very clear, because sometimes clarity, not sometimes, all of the time, clarity is the first rule of success. So we believe in this office that the power that made your body is the power that created. I believe that to be God. If you have a slightly different belief, I'm not here to judge or have opinions on beliefs. That's just our belief. If you're not sure what that is, it would be a wise idea to ask that question, come up with an answer. You think it'd be a good idea to know where you came from? Because it then answers the question of where you're going. That's a different topic for a different day. But power that made your body heals your body. Does the adjustment heal your body? No. So then why do you get adjusted?
Block anything that we try to.
Yes. So one of the other statements that's that the first chiropractor came up with, and it's just like the power that made your body heals your body, is your body needs no help. It just needs no interference. Subluxations are interference. So who remembers the percent of nerve flow that we found in the research is blocked by the most minor subluxation? 60, not something exactly 60%. Well done. So 60%. How do you feel if you have a 60% shut off of nerve flow? Perfectly fine. So if your body needs no help, it just needs no interference. Would it be wise to only get adjusted when the interference is big enough that your body's putting on the check engine light?
Yeah.
Saying there's a problem. That's why, again, we're always going to have the conversation. And some of you in the room will do it. Some of you in the room won't do it. Whatever your choice is your choice. But if the power that made your body heals it, and the adjustment removes the interference, what does the heal? Yeah. On the physical, it's the electrical impulses of the brain. If we have a belief beyond ourselves, we ideally know what that is. Again, not the purpose of the evening, but if we have to set the stage of the vision of what really loving your spine and loving your health is about. And all of you got asked a question on your first day. You may or may not remember the question. It went something like, if we find we can help you, and if you choose to be helped, what is your goal or ideal outcome for care in our office outside of feeling better? And then you gave me an answer. And then I asked again. And then I asked again, or Kristen did, and then I asked again. So did anyone notice as you answer those questions, by the time you got to like level 3, 4, or 5 of the same question, we weren't doing it just because we wanted to, but you came up with a much deeper answer than I want to feel better. Now, when you picked up the phone to come in here on day 1, did you pick up the phone because you wanted to feel better? Yes, right? No one wants to be in pain. But if we can not just feel better, but elevate our health for the rest of our lives, and that would be a huge benefit. So again, this workshop we teach this week, right before Valentine's Day. We call it Love Your Spine because it's easy to remember to teach if it's Valentine's Day week. So let's take it. Maybe. There we go. Who knows who Henry Ford is? Right? So if he had, his quote is, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Totally true. When was it Model A, Model T, whichever one came out first, like people didn't really want a lot to do with it. They're like, why do I need this thing that goes 25 or 30 miles an hour when I can just get on my horse? Right? So if you ask someone what they wanted, remember I preset the stage for you, and you told me you want to feel better, but don't have the vision that there's a lot more potential for your health, then maybe we'd be like, well, not like Henry Ford, because he had a bigger vision, and he created something that we all used to get here today. That might not be one of his, but he started the idea of it, right? Yeah. So if you ask someone what they want and they say, I want to feel better, and they feel better, what do they do when they feel better? Stop doing all the things they did to feel better. It's human nature. But if we realize that in feeling better, we're elevating the quality of our life forever, then there's a higher likelihood we choose to engage in those things, just like brushing your teeth. Because nobody likes to go to the dentist and find out they need additional work besides the cleaning. Fair? So why love your spine? We've talked about this a little bit. Is the fact is your spine protects your nervous system. The nervous system is by far the most important system in your body. Right? There was a article that came out, or a research article that came out. I don't know who did the research, but whatever. They said, well, no, the most important system in the body is the heart, because you don't need your brain for your heart to work. You just need electrical impulses to the heart from somewhere else. We paid for that research. Are you? Like legitimately in a medical journal, they said the heart is more important than the brain because as long as we shoot some electricity at it, it'll still work. Where does the electricity come from? Just this is some of the silliness if you ever read it and dig into research. So it also keeps you upright. Is it better to be upright or not in the world? Right? provide you range of motion or ability to move and interact. And one of the, I think it was Hippocrates, considered the father of modern medicine. Again, I don't have time to go off on that track. I think if you looked at modern medicine, he might disagree with that. He said, look well to the spine for the cause of disease. So they knew back then that disease initially came from interruption in nerve flow from the spine, not lack of Advil or Tylenol or whatever the medication is. Now, there might be a time and place for that, but health isn't a lack of a drug, or lack of health isn't a lack of a drug. It's a lack of communication in your body being able to express its health. That's why loving your spine is so important. And it's also there for protection. So can we avoid gravity? Nope. Are we going to avoid falls in our life?
Really not.
Nope. How about trauma? Hopefully. But is it likely at some point we're going to have some trauma? And I was just walking through my kitchen on Sunday, and I think I broke my pinky toe. Super fun. Whacked it on a stool, was really mad until I realized I was the one who left the stool there. It's a good time. And I was like, man, that still really, really hurts. And days later, it still hurts. No big deal, it's taped up, it'll be fine. It'll heal because the power that made my body heals it. I may have introduced a power that broke it, but it will heal. And then it creates that communication. It's that protective barrier. The spine protects the spinal cord so it can work the way it should. Now, if we have the three curves of our spine, so at least when I was growing up, I remember both my grandparents had this like wave machine thing. Like it was the coolest thing, just kind of like, do you remember that? It just kind of went back and forth. And it was this wave that went back and forth and it looked very smooth and very fluid. That's what your spinal cord is supposed to be able to do inside your body. But if we lose the normal curve of your spine, what does it do? Janky thing. So I should have had a rope. This will be my rope, and hopefully I won't totally mess up the recording. So if it has curves in it and it's supposed to flow nicely, and we remove that curve, which then, by the way, it anchors in your brain and in a couple spots in your spine, and now it's all stressed out, can it move fluidly or no? So we constantly have conversations about how subluxation cut nerve flow, but we don't, and when I say we, I mean me, remember to have the conversation that, remember your x-rays, did anyone have a perfect neck curve? No. Now, there are definitely patients here who have them. My last x-ray, I was off by like 1%, but I've been working on this for like decades, right? When we lose the curve of our neck and it pulls on the spinal cord, which then has to pull on your brain, it cuts 70% of the communication everywhere. So the adjustment is important to remove the interference. The exercises, the traction that we're going to go to in next, if all we do is get adjusted and we change none of the lifestyle habits that created our problem, you're going to be healthy, you're going to have more vibrant health. But you're also going to be missing out on the most profound results of, let's actually correct the underlying problem, reinforce with better lifestyle choices, right? So it's essential to that communication. And because we have 4 curves, we can do something about 3 of them, unless you're pre-puberty, and then we can do something about 4 of them. The last one is the pelvis. So that's the sacrum. There are 5 individual joints in the sacrum when we're born. Then there are a couple of joints down in what's called the coccyx. And by the time we're through with puberty, they are one solid bone. So sometimes people say things like, well, why would a child need chiropractic? What if the part that's going to fuse and be that way for the rest of their life is out of alignment before it fuses? So we have one of our neighbors, the mom is a patient, the son came in as a patient, they chose to not have care right now. They put up something on social media that I will be having a chat with them, probably not tonight, but I'm just going to go see them. They said, well, we're going to this doctor to find out if surgery is possible to correct the reason he has a leg length difference, or if the leg length difference is going to fix itself. So remember your x-rays. Who in the room besides me had a difference in their leg length that needed a correction? What was our solution for it? You get a heel lift. So if you can put a little piece of rubber in a shoe and balance the pelvis out, or maybe look towards surgery where they actually extend the bones out, super painful by the way. What's better? The little rubber, right? But it gets better. If the doctor who's going to do the same surgery remembered what he learned in school about how bones grow. So I love to say it because it's fun to say. Huter Volkmann, everybody say it with me, Huter Volkmann. Try it. Huter Volkmann. So Huter Volkmann was, I think he was a German scientist, and he proved that if there is pressure on the top of a growth plate, so let's say one leg is shorter than the other one, which leg do you think is going to have more pressure on it? The shorter one. It's going to slow the growth of that leg down. What that means is the longer it's shorter, the slower it's going to grow. Yet, we have a lot of our spinal specialists out there saying things like, don't grow out of it. It's literally a physiological rule and law of how bones work. And they're telling people they're going to grow out of it. But if we can early enough put a heel lift in, my chiropractor didn't know this stuff growing up, put the heel lift in and we can balance out the pressure on it, on that growth plate will actually speed up to catch up to the other. This kid's 13 and he's going and having conversations about irreversible surgery to fix his life difference. I'm going to go 3 doors down. I'm going to have a little chat with him. And they don't have to do anything. I'm not going to do it like, I'm going to do what I say. There are better options. And if the doctor says it's going to catch up, just remind him of the law of bone growth. All right, I got to get back on track. So that's just the pelvis, but then we can potentially change the lumbar, the thoracic, the cervical. And if it gets to a certain level of breakdown and bony reformation, there's less that we can do. So let's jump in. So this is the neck. So your neck, hopefully you know these things. It supports your head. Yes? Sometimes. One of my favorite jokes when we do your re-x-ray is when your neck is on straight or your head is on straighter. Right? It happens. You come in and people are like this and they don't know it, or they're sitting over here and they don't know it. And then we look at their x-ray and their head is literally on straighter. Is that good for society or bad for society? So it supports immunity. In fact, right up here is something called the superior cervical ganglion. You don't need to remember the word, but it turns into a big bundle of nerves that controls most of your immune system. It controls sinuses. Everybody had that experience, they get adjusted, they sit up like, oh, my sinuses are clear, right? Thyroid function, stress response, balance. Remember this test? How'd you do? That's just the neck. And that's just a little bit of the neck. That's why the neck is important. But if we lose the normal neck, this is phase 1. This is what closer to phase 3 looks like. But we get that forward head posture. Maybe it's from texting or reading or computer work, the things we do every single day. Or maybe it's traumas like sports or car accidents. Maybe it's bad habits. Don't raise your hand. Sleeping on your stomach. Having bad posture. In the case of the person who's going for the leg line thing, this dude is like, he's 13. He makes me look like a little dude. So would you bet he walks around the 13-year-old boy who's towering over everyone else like this or like this? He's trying to fit in literally, so he's shrinking his body down. All the things we do add into what happens. In case you can't see it, 25 years to go from phase 1 of no symptoms to phase 2 of symptoms showing up on average. Again, if you came in with a problem and the pain just started, but we did an x-ray and it looked something like this or maybe worse, how long should we care for your spine? Forever. And again, some will do it. Some will be here till their pain goes away and they'll show back up the next time it shows up. And my job is to inspire you to higher levels of choices, because the choices we make result in the life that we have. If the choices you were making were resulting in an extremely high level of health, and I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else, I make bad choices too, then maybe some of the issues wouldn't exist. Like if you knew from a young age that getting adjusted is an essential part of a healthy life, you'd probably do it. But if you didn't know it, how could you possibly do it, right? It's the old saying, if you don't know better, you can't do better. So anybody see one of these in the office before? Yes. All right, so we're checking on observation. So this is called a Gambale traction chair. It's developed by my friend, Dr. Anthony Gambale out of Boston. But it works on the low back curve, the upper thoracic or upper back curve, and the neck curve all at the same time. For some of you, that's the right traction therapy. For others, you need the Cerviguard version of it. It all depends on what your x-rays look like. And for like 80 to 90% of you, based on the research, you got prescribed one of these guys. So who knows what that's called? Denerol, not dinner roll. It was developed by an Australian doctor named Denner Wald. I asked him one day and he said, well, I just named it after myself. You know what they have instead of dinner rolls in Australia? Biscuits. So it never even occurred to him. But this is one of those home everyday things to work on to get that curve response. If we move into the upper the thoracic spine, some of the important things is lung capacity. Would you put breathing as an essential part of life? Cool. Upper digestion. How about heart health? Is that good? This may be a little more important than breathing. But again, that research said you don't need a brain, you just need a heart with electrical impulses. I don't know who pays for this stuff. Anyway, helps with sleep and your body's ability to relax. Anybody feel stressed out in the world? More now than before, maybe? Like more every year than the previous years? So your thoracic spine houses what's called your parasympathetic nervous system. Again, you don't need to remember the words, but sympathetic is fight or flight. Like you're walking down the street and a bear shows up. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but if it does, you're going to be ready to run. Hopefully you have the ability to run. The other version is the rest and digest, like you went to a Thanksgiving dinner and ate too much. So one helps your body relax and heal, not saying overeating is the way to do it. One ramps you up to be ready to prepare for whatever the challenge that shows up. The thoracic spine houses the, how do we get into a restful state? So if you're remembering to your x-rays, you had a thoracic spine that maybe you had too much of a curve up here, or maybe you had a shift in the middle, something like that. It means your body's ability to go into that restful healing state isn't as great as it should. It's the same reason why when a lot of little babies get adjusted, the first thing they do, unless it's pooping in their diaper, is they take an awesome nap. Because we just relieved all that tension from them being crunched up in mom. And now they can actually relax and they take an amazing nap. It's pretty cool to see. So this is what a hyperkyphotic spine looks like, right? So that increase in that upper back curve, can be from computer work, it could be from caring for your children or someone else's children, could be scoliosis, could be trauma like lifting, maybe bad habits. But what's more important is this becomes something that we don't have time to go into super detail on, but it's called adult spine deformity. Adult spine deformity is defined by an increase in the upper thoracic curve, forward head posture, and reversal of the neck curve. So what organs live like right here? The heart and the lungs, kind of essential. So if I have all this space for, we'll go down here, my heart and lungs, and all of a sudden I find myself living like this, what happens to the space for my heart and lungs? But it shortens, so it actually crushes it down. So if you know someone who walks around looking like that, besides the fact every person on the planet should at least get checked by a chiropractor, if you have someone that looks like that, they have something called adult spine deformity. Adult spine deformity is partially correctable if they come to a corrective care chiropractor. There's like 2 or 3 of us in the whole region who have the certification and skill sets to do that. But if they live like that, their mortality goes down or goes up, whichever version is. Their life expectancy will say that one goes down by at least 15 years. But if no one told them, how would they know to do anything different? They just think it's a normal part of aging. Not okay. So zipping through, so a couple things you can do there, and I do have a printout that I didn't print out, but I'll have them tomorrow. So when you come back for your appointment, make sure you get it. Is just simply laying with a pillow in your back. Like we could all do that. That's just simply creating some extension. Don't be like Dr. Steven, like middle school, maybe even high school, where you try to lean over the chair and try to get your back to pop. That's not a good idea, but it is. But doing some gentle extension opens everything up. Maybe you do it over an exercise ball, which is probably why the exercise ball was sitting here that I put away because I couldn't remember why I put it out. Maybe it's you. Hey, it's that Kabali chair thing again, pretty functional. And these are what are called door stretches or wall stretches, because when we have this forward posture, there's these muscles called your pecs. They get way tighter. So if we adjust and open up your spine and your muscles keep pulling you back, it's going to be harder to get to the same place. So we are at 5 more minutes. I don't want to barrel, but do you want to know about the low back?
Yes.
Cool. All right, let's go there. Because sometimes it's better to do less than to do more. Because if we do too much, there's a high likelihood you're going to remember nothing I say. So let's jump into the low back. Anyway. So low back, so normal low back lordosis called is digestion, reproduction, sciatic nerve, balance again. Kind of important stuff, right? Sorry, would you like a picture of that? If I can get all the way down there, and it's gonna let, oh, nope. That's the easier version. All right, here we go. So low back, so that lumbar spine curve, we lose it from trauma like lifting. It could be yoga done incorrectly. Sometimes the things we think are good for us, if we're doing them incorrectly, not so good for us. Just had a new patient who had her first adjustment yesterday and said, I want to go back to the gym. What are the rules? I said, thank you for asking. The rule is get a trainer. Because even if we think we know what we're doing, can you see yourself working out? And if you're working out in a mirror, some of the positions you still can't see yourself. We had this is one of those that'll always stick in my brain. We had a patient a couple of years ago, really high level competitive lifter. And her back just wasn't improving symptomatically, her re-exams were barely improving, her x-rays barely improving, like something doesn't make sense. We've created a very effective recipe based on research of how people get better. And if you follow the plan, you get better. It may take a little more time, it may take a little less time, but you get better. And she wasn't getting better. And our tech CA at the time, I guess this was like 6 years ago now, was at the gym when she was at the gym. And noticed how she lifted weights. It was really, really, really bad. So no wonder why she kept injuring herself. And I, in my need to grow in conversations with people, didn't have that conversation gently, and she never came back. Because she was very attached to, she knows how to work out, she's a competitive weightlifter, she wins all these competitions. And she was so attached that she knew what she was doing, she wasn't open to the idea that there could be improvement. I learned from that, so I bring those conversations up a little differently, but I told her to get a trainer, and she's like, I am a trainer, why do I need one? Anyway, moving on. So some of those lumbar exercises, so do you sit in a chair that way? Or your car that way? Maybe we sit up. Is that, if you sit this way all the time, is that way going to be comfortable?
No.
Nope. But would it still be good to do? Right? It's like any other thing in life, if we do the version that's for us that's not that great, and we upgrade to the version that's better for us, in the beginning, it's going to be challenging. But the results are worth it. Maybe it's doing these Cobra exercises. That one, if you've ever done yoga, looks a little familiar. Maybe you're going to do some plank exercises to strengthen up those core muscles, because a strong, healthy core is going to support your spine better than a weak core. Now, it's important because we've talked about a lot of exercises. Structure. So what's the structure of your body? Your bones, skeleton, right? So structure, so your bones and skeleton, your spine, dictate function. So what moves the bones? Muscles. Muscles and tendons and ligaments. So sometimes we go to some doctors that say things like, well, you need to go do this therapy to retrain the motion of the joints or the muscles, while they're ever assessing, are the joints actually in the right spot? Are they moving the way they should? And I love physical therapists. Physical therapist is the reason I can use this arm and actually be a functional chiropractor after I broke it snowboarding. I was hit some ice, reached back, thought this is a bad idea. I still remember like yesterday, it was like 25 years ago. Thought this is a bad idea. I went like this to try to pull my arm up, which made it a worse idea. Caught the ground and went that way. And then I needed surgery to move the bone chips. Physical therapy helped me rehab it and have full function of my arm again. So there's a time and place, but if you have an underlying structural issue, it's not going to work as well as it could. Fair? So, that's not supposed to be there. I'm supposed to remove that. That's the wrong date. So what's our PAD date or PRD date? It's March 7th. Is that right? 7th or 13th. So we'll look, it's on the board up front, but anyone who's been here for any number of time, we do something 3 times a year called a patient appreciation day. We're changing the name of it to a patient referral day, because we always talk about, yes, we're absolutely going to love and appreciate and celebrate you being here. And it's an opportunity for you to refer people in who should be here, who simply are not here. So I did not prepare the team for this because I had a lot of great ideas in my head that I didn't share with them. So you can go grab a pile of referral brochures for me. So what's on Friday? Okay, good. Some of you know. I don't know that any of the males in here knew, but it's Valentine's Day, everybody. We got a couple of days. So what is something that we tend to, from a young age, give other people on Valentine's Day? Maybe sweets, maybe heart, flowers. Do you ever give them anything that's paper? Called a Valentine's Day. Oh, you said card. I didn't hear you say card. Called a Valentine's Day card. So here is my vision. So the referral brochures are now a Valentine's Day card for someone in the sphere. Because if someone has an opportunity to know better, they can do better. Now, let me explain what these are. There's a reason why Kristen had to go get them, and they did not exist out in the main area. So what these are, the referral brochures. Some of you have gotten these for some people. Some of you may have never seen one. Some of you have given them to people and they never use them. But they go over some very specific common questions, some of the things that we talked about tonight, but they come with a Valentine. So the Valentine is good for 2 weeks. We will fill it out for you specifically for the person you want this to go to. And the agreement is first is I'm gonna ask that you all take it and bring it to someone. I'm not gonna ask who the person is because we're right at 6:30. But you all know someone, yes? Do you know someone who should be here who's not? Hands up. Do you know someone with a spine who's not getting adjusted? Then you know someone. Whether I'm the right chiropractor for them or not does not matter. They should at least get checked. This Valentine's Day gift is an opportunity for them to come get checked completely as my expense. So that's the full exam, any necessary x-rays, and the follow-up report. For clarity, that's easily a $235 gift, but honestly, it's priceless because it's an opportunity for someone to make a better, different, more informed choice for their health. Now, do they choose care? Do they not choose care? Not important. It's an opportunity. So my ask is each one of you before you go, we're going to fill one of these out. We're going to put a very specific person's name on it. They do expire 2 weeks from today. And if by chance they don't make it to the person, bring it back. Fair? We don't want them just sitting out being useless. Fair? Awesome. So everybody have an excellent evening. Our next patient referral day specifically is, I think it's the 7th, maybe it's the 14th. I should know that ahead. But for best results, you must correctly align the spine before beginning that rehab routine. We talked about that before I put the slide up, because failing to do so will actually build the problems in. Tomorrow we'll have the printout of the couple exercises we went over. Tonight, you're going to take one of these with a specific person's name on it, give it to them because they have an opportunity to now love their spine too. Good? Awesome. Thank you. So the way we'll do it is you'll get one on the way out. And since Miss Kristen's handwriting is legible and mine is not, she'll be writing a bunch of names. For you, feel free to be free. If you want to hand those out, I gotta stop the recording, so it's not my forehead.
It's on your soft stuff.